Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Skaken.
Well, thank you, Worship, and myself and others appreciate the RCMP. The work they do is thankless. You know, what your members have to put up with night and day is, in some cases, is horrific. So, you know, us grilling you, Superintendent Wright, about financial issues, it's nothing against you or your force, and I'm sure you can understand. You know, my concern is the meeting that took place last week with the DBIA. And my understanding was the fear of God was thrown into the members that the downtown safety unit was going and Car 60 was going. And after that meeting, boy, did I get calls. And, you know, it's a little bit upsetting, but I mean, the RCMP, you know, they're getting political on this, and that's the way it is. So a couple questions to you, Superintendent Wright. And you mentioned it before too, the first place that members get poached or taken would be the foot patrols in that downtown. So do you have an idea what percentage the downtown patrols that we funded, the downtown unit, what percentage was it fully staffed last year?
Without the statistics in front of me, I'd say approximately 90 to 95%. Fully
staffed?
Yes.
So you didn't have to pull the members off of anywhere else or off of that unit to do other things?
Correct.
Okay, that's good to hear. You know, we've talked about, you know, the RCMP not pushing back on, and you said it's under the Police Act. I mean, now we have RCMP members, and I believe they're still doing it, parole checks at night, which takes 2 members. The paying of political keep of prisoners and that's another, you know, downloaded and offloading cost. And, you know, we had you at one of our committee meetings, the Intergovernmental Resolutions Committee meetings earlier this year. And one of the challenges that you had said publicly and in our meeting was that Crown Council wasn't charging people, and it was frustrating. And you know, and I can understand that. But on the other hand, Crown Council, my understanding is one of our local residents, and John Sikowski was presented tonight, wrote Crown Council and asked them what's going on. You know, and I think you understand. And my concern is that. Just reading this letter, and I'm going to read one paragraph and get your response, and I hope Crown Council and the RCMP can work together, because if you read the entirety of this letter, and it's only one side from Crown Council, it doesn't sound like it's really working. So I'm going to read the paragraph, and it says, whatever the superintendent or individual RCMP officers may have communicated to you or your colleagues is unknown to me. This is Regional Crown Council in Prince George. But I would have expected that if the police felt strongly that Crown Council were inappropriately not approving charges, they would have resorted to the formal appeal process referred to above, or communications informally with me. Over the last 2 years, however, I have not been made aware of a single case in which the police have engaged a formal appeal process in the relation to a decision not to approve a prosecution relating to business property or premise in Prince George. And the reason I bring that up is because we even went through our Intergovernmental Resolutions Committee, bringing resolutions to the UBCM, in a sense, trying to get Crown Council to do more work. So, you know, I mean, I can really understand the frustration of Crown Council if they're getting the impression the RCMP is kind of blaming them for not charging people, and perhaps the process to file an appeal for them not charging someone is onerous. But I just got to get your clarification, Superintendent Wright, on that, and if there has been any discussions with Crown Council on how you can kind of improve things going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor. So I agree. I've had discussions with the Regional Crown Council you speak of. They're responsible for the northern area. So, you know what, we're both in agreement that the relationship between our offices should be better, could be better, and we've had several conversations on how to attempt to achieve that. So specifically with regards to appeals to charges not approved by Crown Council, no, I don't believe we've elevated any to her level. We've elevated them to the local level at the courthouse, so essentially the local region here on numerous occasions, and not met with success. So really, with the severity of those charges, that's really the level we leave it at, whereas if it were a much more severe charge, we would take it all the way to the Regional Crown Council. With regards to improving our relationship, I've had some discussions with her about possible changes in process and structure. One of the examples would be a Crown Council for charge approval dedicated to the incidents, or with primary responsibility for incidents that occur downtown. So a rock through a window doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you're familiar with the circumstances of the area and the plight of the shop owner who's had his window broken or her window broken 3 times over the last 2 years, that is a significant issue, and there is some public interest there. We were advised by the admin Crown Council here at the Prince George Courthouse that that wasn't going to be possible. They claim resourcing shortages. I won't get into it. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but several conversations we've had with them and suggestions put forward similar to that have failed to really bring about a desirable result. And I would say our relationship is still quite strained with that office, to be perfectly honest.
And you know, and I appreciate you being real frank about that, because I think it's important that, I mean, obviously you guys are facing frustrations, you know, out on the front lines, but then there's also things going on with the court process and that. So, you know, I'm hoping going forward that things can be streamlined and work better. And I know one of the things I had mentioned and we had talked about last year, and I put a question to you about, I mean, it was open drug use downtown and drug sales, and the fact that a lot of people don't get charged when they're doing that downtown. But I said, what would happen if someone was doing that in Spruce Land Mall or something? And you basically said that they would get charged. So I guess the message is the drug dealers downtown, the drug users, the people lighting the fires and whatever else it is, it's almost as if they have a sense of immunity that nothing is going to happen to them. And they'll sell the stuff and smoke the stuff right on the street corner on a busy day. So I'm not sure, and I'm not saying you go down there and clamp down on everybody, but they just know for the most part that, you know, they're not going to get arrested. And if they do get arrested, they're going to get thrown in jail for the night. And, you know, who knows if they'll make it to court. So I don't know how you tackle that, Your Worship, to, you know, the RCMP, and it's got to be frustrating. But if they sense they can get away with it, you know, they're going to. And, you know, we had a fire again last week across from here, about $40,000 damage. And no one seems to get caught. And one of the things that, you know, and I know it's challenging, but I have suggested before that we have, you know, cameras outside that aren't accessible, but people know they're under surveillance, and those things work. So I just put that out there, and, you know, Mr. Babbage is hearing me, because quite often when there's a crime happen, the first thing the RCMP do is go to a business, ask them if they have any, you know, closed circuit coverage. So I think that might help, but the businesses downtown, they're just at a wit's end, and you know, the homeless issue and all the rest of that. But it's the drug addicted people and their unpredictability that makes everybody feel unsafe, and probably your members as well. So thanks for letting me go on, Your Worship. I appreciate it.
And Councillor, if I could just respond briefly. Yeah, and I hate to be even more negative, but like you said, someone with a small amount of drugs might spend a night in jail. Unfortunately, in the current circumstances, they'd be released on a piece of paper unless there's other extenuating circumstances, and wouldn't even see that night anymore nowadays. As well, like you said, it is somewhat location specific. We don't have the resources to clean up every drug transaction we see downtown, and that's unfortunate because it is everywhere. It's pervasive. Case in point, I don't believe we've done a news release yet, but today or perhaps tomorrow, we've executed 3, or I'm not sure, it might be 4 search warrants for drug trafficking at the Knights Inn, since that's been set up as low barrier housing. So that's unfortunate, but it just shows, it demonstrates the pervasiveness of that behavior in that geographic area, unfortunately, and what we're facing. And
I appreciate that. You know, I mean, there's roadblocks that are thrown up all the time, and I appreciate you. I mean, the message is obviously going to get out that the people, that the rest of the folks of the Knights Inn, that it's not safe to do what they're doing there. So, I mean, you just have to keep at them. So thank you, Worship.
Thank you. I was going to add before I go to Councillor Scott, because I can't wait to say it. It has a direct impact on the Hyatt Place, a new hotel downtown, Councillor Skaken, that we've needed for years. Has a direct impact, or will have a direct impact, on our new pool that's going to open up this fall. So you hear about those things at the Knights Inn, which originally we were pretty excited about the fact that there was going to be appropriate low barrier housing and supportive housing, and here we are. So, Councillor Scott.